welcome to Good Morning Football. We are live in New York City. It's Tuesday, March 3rd. I'm Jane Slater in for Kay Adams alongside Nate Burleson and Kyle Brandt. Good morning, guys.
What's up, Jane?
Good morning to you. Jane, last we saw you were down on the streets of New York. You were doing some combine drills. How did they feel?
I'm really disappointed in my performance.
Yeah,
I'm a
why?
bit of a gamer. I didn't play sports. No excuses. But I wanted to perform better.
Okay, I thought you did fantastic.
I
It's really
appreciate
hard.
it.
Much harder than it looks.
I have a new respect for the Cowboys, though. Like, that sun in your face is a real deal.
I couldn't have a shot.
You did a good job. Some say you slipped from the first round to the third. But, I mean, it's still a good pick, though.
I think I'm going to be making team visits.
That's all right. Nate wouldn't know anything about the first round anyway. That's okay. What do we got? Let's get into this thing.
Time for the lead block.
Lead block.
Let's start with the Super Bowl champions. You know, the Chiefs are looking to sign Patrick Mahomes to a long-term deal. Mahomes still has 1 year remaining on his rookie contract, so he isn't worried about the team struggling to reach a deal in the near future.
I'm optimistic just to be able to be a Kansas City Chief for a long time. I think the best thing about this team and this organization is they handle things the right way and they do things the right way. And so for me, obviously, I'm optimistic of getting that contract and extending and my time in Kansas City. But I'm going to just go about being who I am, just like I have since the beginning, since I was the backup until now. And that's to go out there, love this game, treat people the right way, and all that stuff handles itself.
Patrick Mahomes currently makes just over $4 million a year. Russell Wilson leads the league with $35 million a year. All right, so Chiefs chairman and CEO Clark Hunt has said signing Patrick Mahomes to a long-term extension is a priority for the team. So, guys, what are your expectations for a Patrick Mahomes contract extension? Your thoughts, Nate?
Break the bank. We're talking about back that Brinks trucks up and go out there and take everything that you deserve.
Even the pennies, all the change, everything.
Every red
bearer
cent.
bonds.
I need all of that. The gold bars, too.
You want the bars?
Listen, Russell Wilson, he's averaging 35 per, but it was a 4-year extension. If you look at the Matt Ryan contract, that was $150 million over 5 years. Patrick Mahomes, I believe, will get a 5-year deal. $40 million, and that right there is going to break the bank. And listen, deservedly so. $40 million a year, $200 contract, and I don't think there's anybody that can argue that with what he has done in the first 2 years in the league. People, okay, he's 3 years into his career, but really his first year on the field, he was the league MVP with 50 touchdowns. That second season, which was last year, my man wins the Super Bowl. Right. And what makes it even more convincing is that the nucleus of this offense is still together. So usually when you're signing a guy like this to a big deal, the team shortly thereafter falls apart, sometimes simultaneously in the same season. That's not the case, which means you have a strong chance of Pat Mahomes repeating and getting a back-to-back Super Bowl. Even if he doesn't win one after that, just say you get 2 Super Bowls within 5 years of that contract, I think everybody wins. I don't think there'd be one person in the NFL world that can argue that Pat Mahomes isn't deserving of $40 million a year.
So, Nate, you think Tony Romo's going to be shining his shoes when Patrick Mahomes is done?
No doubt about it.
I'm a Chiefs fan right now. I'm a little nervous. I'm just a little tense. Let me tell you why. They've had a lot to celebrate. It's been an incredible run, 50 years in the making. The future is bright, obviously. If it comes out, all right, that he does sign it for as much as he could possibly get, and let's say Pat Mahomes squeezes them for every red cent, like you're saying, good for him. He's earned it. It's the most ever. I don't think that's a great moment for Chiefs fans. The great moment is when you sign the player, you draft them, they hold up the jersey, or obviously when they hold up the Lombardi. Hearing that your quarterback signed the biggest deal of all time is not a real positive moment. I'll tell you why. This is a sobering statistic. The last time a quarterback who was top 5 paid in the NFL, top 5 paid quarterback, won the Super Bowl was Eli Manning in 2011. The only time in the last 15 years that it's happened was Eli Manning twice. They have never won the Super Bowl. Top 5. And Eli was 5th of 5. So I'm saying he barely scraped in. So what I'm saying is it's going to be great. And Pat Mahomes, you deserve it. And you deserve the world. Give everything. It's very difficult to win that way. Very difficult because you get all this money and you earned it. This player's going to leave. That player's going to leave. You have to be really savvy with what weapons you put around them, what linemen, what defense. It's a little bit of a backhanded news breaking for Chiefs fans because, oh, my gosh, Mahomes is never going anywhere. But a lot of other people are. It's a little bit tricky, and it'll be interesting when the number comes out because Pat can have whatever he wants. Say, this is the number I want. All right, you're Pat Mahomes, you get it. Is there a possibility that he says, I know I could get $6 million more, $3 million, whatever, but I would rather have that second tight end on my team. Is there a possibility he decides to do that? I think it'll be very telling when we see what the numbers are.
And that's so true. And then the question you have to ask yourself, does he slow play it? In other words, does he wait and see what the CBA is going to look like, what the new TV deals are? Slow play this, maybe there's even more money in the coffer. Right. But I agree with you. I think there are very few teams that have been able to go back-to-back, get a three-peat when you've got to sign a young guy that's up on his fourth, fifth year. And I think that, to your point, that's what the Cowboys keep saying to Dak Prescott. You know, the Cowboys believe that he deserves to get paid. They want him in the building, but you've still got to sit down. You've got to have all these other guys. I mean, look what happened to the Seattle Seahawks. Look what happened to the Eagles. Look what happened. I mean, I'm just talking recent years.
Seahawks are a great example because Russ makes $1 million, all the money, and Russ is so good that they can still get back to the playoffs because he's that good. What do they do when they get there? Not much. They're not sniffing the Super Bowl anymore because all those guys are gone. I can't say enough how much I love Mahomes, but you telling me that they're anywhere close to that Super Bowl if Tyron's gone, if Kelsey eventually is gone, like, you got to pay those guys too. So the huge money, the record-breaking money, it's not great for the team.
But the window is here, though. You think about the guys that you want to make an impact on your team. Tyrann Mathieu, he's locked in. He's not going anywhere. Tyreek Hill, he's locked in. Travis Kelce, so guys are locked in. So you might as well, if you have the ability to pay him, then go ahead and pay Pat Mahomes. I get it, man. Listen, you're hamstrung when you sign a guy to a big deal. But there's been so many quarterbacks over the last decade that get paid, because this happens every year. Every offseason we have the same conversation, a new quarterback with a new crazy deal. But how many times have we scratched our head and we thought to ourselves, I'm not sure that guy's worth it, but they have to pay him. With Pat Mahomes, there's not one person that is saying he's not worth it.
No.
I mean, even this list of guys right here,
of course he's worth it.
He's the best quarterback in all of football.
Hey, what if Reed and Veach et al., the brain trust for the Kansas City Chiefs, were to sit down with Pat Mahomes and have a long talk about how Tom Brady's operated his career and how he's the GOAT because he's been to 9 Super Bowls and he's won 6 of them, and let's talk about what kind of career you want to have. As a player who's set to make any kind of money you want, when you hear the Tom Brady formula, meaning taking less for sake of the team, do you get antsy? Do you get triggered? Or do you say that's interesting?
But see, this is where Tom Brady gets other quarterbacks in trouble because this is the same conversation they're having in Dallas right now. Hey, Dak, take the 34, take the 35, because look what Tom's been able to accomplish. And he's like, but look, I've been doing everything you guys have asked for 500 and under. At some point, I deserve to get paid, do I not? And it's no different than Ezekiel Elliott. When Ezekiel Elliott held out, he said he had to set the market for other running backs. Now, to your point, you could also look at Ezekiel Elliott and as a team say, well, where was he in terms of rushing yards? Was he an impactful player?
I don't remember him much.
But then you could also go back and say, well, you guys didn't use him that much. So, you know, there's kind of a couple sides of the argument. I could sit here and argue both sides of it. But I just know if it's my money, pay me.
Yeah, exactly. And Kyle, you said it'd be very telling what Pat Mahomes decides to do. What is he telling you? Say he does take a discount. What does that say about Pat Mahomes versus him going there and asking for every red cent?
If the number comes out and it's low, and lower than we think,
would you respect him more? Would you say that's a wrong choice of words?
I'd be totally intrigued, and I would think Pat Mahomes wants to give money back to win titles. He wants to win more. He doesn't want to be the Russell Wilson who's good enough to get there and win a game or two. He wants to do the Brady.
But doesn't that put the ultimate trust in the team? Like Tom Brady was able to trust the Patriots organization, and they surrounded him with talent year after year. Are we sure that the Kansas City Chiefs are capable of doing that? I know they've done that the first couple of years so far.
You gotta trust them.
But it's been Pat Mahomes that has carried these guys over the last 2 years.
You bring up an excellent point, because if we're talking about 5, 6, 7 million you're giving back to the franchise each year, can you guarantee me that you're going to put the pieces around me? Show me. Are you going to have him then? Is he going to have an input in the draft room? That's what I would say. All right, I'm going to give you guys some money back, but I want to actually have some input in this.
Yeah, no, 100%. Joe Burrow's already saying I want A.J. Green. What could Patrick Mahomes say?
And think about the conversation we're having about Patrick Mahomes, and he's won a Super Bowl. We're saying, why not give some money back, Patrick Mahomes?
Right.
And then you've got Dak Prescott, who hasn't won. He hasn't gotten a championship yet, even in the division.
The Brady thing always seems to come up. And, Jane, I'm interested in your opinion on this specific, because we don't talk too much. It always seems to me just a little bit skeevy to start talking about Tom Brady's wife's money. It does to me. It's personal. And yet, he's joked about it. He goes on Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel and jokes about it. Do you think that's a factor? And for someone like Dak Prescott, who's told, why don't you do what Tom Brady does that not come up?
It has come up, and I loved his response. He says, I'm not married to a Giselle.
I think that's relevant completely.
Your contract's not based on what Brooke makes.
No, not at all.
Your contract's not based on what Atoya makes.
Right.
No one's going to come to you guys and say, well, how much are your wives making?
Right.
You guys are doing well enough.
Right, right. Let alone a player like Tom Brady who's proven to be the best ever to play the game. You know, but when you look at Tom Brady and the Patriots, like after winning your first Super Bowl and them come to you and saying, see what we're doing here? We're building something special. He's an absolute legend in New England. And I'm not sure if Boston has the same type of appeal that the Cowboys have on a global scale. And this isn't dismissive to the Kansas City Chiefs fan base, but playing for Kansas City is not the same as playing for Dallas. So if he does take a discount and he's surrounded by talent, like it isn't necessarily the gift that keeps on giving. If Pat Mahomes has done over the first couple of seasons what he's done in Kansas City and Dallas, we're talking about a different type of superstardom. So you're also thinking about that perspective. Like Pat Mahomes, listen, I'm not from Kansas City. Maybe I make roots here eventually, but I want you guys to pay me for what I'm worth. Because here's another thing we're not talking about. And, you know, this is like the minutia of the money that guys ask for. Years from now, decades from now, 50 years from now, they'll still be able to run the tape of him winning Super Bowls if he wins another one, sell his jerseys, sell his image. They'll be able to monetize every single moment he spent on and off the field underneath the Kansas City Chiefs umbrella. So when these guys are asking for $40 million, they're thinking about, 100 years from now. So it's not about the next 10 years. They also have to think about how much the organization is going to benefit when he's dead. You know what I'm saying? I know that's a deep concept, but it's part of the business.
I don't know the answer to this, and maybe I'm going out on a limb here. Can you build into a contract a royalty situation?
In what sense?
In other words, you sell my jerseys in.
Right.
I mean, look at the way that they sell the Aikman jerseys in Dallas. The way they sell, even Tony Romo's stuff was sticking around for a while. Can you put a royalty clause in there? In other words, Jalen Smith, when he signed his deal with Dallas, got a deal going with the Cowboys to put his sunglasses in the stadium, Clear Eye View.
Right.
Is there a way to pay him that's still within the CBA?
It's tricky.
Doesn't affect the cap.
No, it's tricky.
But still tells him, we value you, and to your point, I can see the payoff, as opposed to you telling me to base my salary now on my futures.
I'll answer that in a way that can describe it because I experienced this. I'm a Leo, born August 19th. Before I signed with the Detroit Lions, I would hashtag lion blood. The way you approach the world is the way I feel like a lion approaches the jungle. Go conquer your jungle, as I used to say. I signed with the Lions, and people start hashtagging my hashtag. Eventually, I was like, I'm going to trademark this. Cool. I'll carry this rest of my life. Lion blood is what I believe in. I have the tattoo. I started wearing these shirts. Players started asking for them, and then the city started asking for them. Before you knew it, I was selling shirts at a website, and then stores were reaching out. People were walking into the stadium asking for Lion Blood shirts because they thought it was attached to the team. And as soon as that started happening, the NFL reached out and was like, hey, what are you doing? Because if we don't have this underneath our umbrella, you can't sell this individually. So in my experience, no, you can't do that. Because anything that you are selling, once you sign that contract, if it is closely at all related to the NFL, they're going to want their piece. So these guys need to build a brand outside of the NFL umbrella, which is highly unlikely when you're as big as Pat Mahomes.
And we got to talk Mahomes. Nate, you're a very enterprising, creative guy with all this charisma.
He might not be that.
Patrick Mahomes is about ball. He is the ultimate team. He won't talk about anything other than the team. So that's why this is so interesting, because I don't think he's going to be looking to mock his own headbands and sell them in the stadium. I don't necessarily think he's looking for every single penny, because I do think he's the ultimate team guy. And taking a little less is the ultimate team move.
What's crazy is they're already doing that.
But then does that make a guy like Dak look bad? When he doesn't. You know what I'm saying? It villainizes is the guys that don't do it.
It does. That's right.
All right. Well, could Mitch Trubisky be competing for